Hey there everybody, it's Randy Selzer here. Welcome back to my real estate channel. And today is kind of a red letter day. It's actually April the 20th, 2017. And today our provincial government here in the province of Ontario rolled out a major initiative on real estate and trying to cool off the real estate market. They rolled out a plan with 16 different components that they're going to be implementing, which is going to, I think, drastically affect the real estate market here locally. Anyways, today we're only going to talk about one thing. The first item out of the 16, and that is the imposition of a foreign buyer's speculation tax, is what they're calling it. A non-resident speculation tax, which they're going to be rolling out in the very near future, and which will consist of a 15% tax to pay on closing when a foreigner or a non-resident of Canada purchases residential real estate in the province of Ontario. Before we get into the details, this is going to apply for a large area of southern Ontario, basically going from Niagara Falls up to Hamilton, out to the west towards Kitchener-Waterloo, all throughout the GTA, north to Orillia and Barrie, over eastwards to the Kawarthas and Peterborough. So it's a large chunk of southern Ontario where this tax will apply. And although it hasn't been put into law yet, they have to put it through the legislature to make it into law. It will be retroactive to tomorrow, April the 21st. So anyone entering into an agreement of purchase and sale, if that purchaser does not live in Canada and they're a non-resident, non-Canadian, they will be obliged to pay a 15% tax on their purchase of residential property going forward. So that's going to be a major effect, I think, on the local market. Now, there are a number of different details which they've released. I think some of the stuff is probably still being worked out. There's going to be certain exemptions. For example, if a foreigner non-resident is married to a Canadian citizen, there will be no tax to pay. So that's interesting. I can foresee perhaps there'll be a lot of marriages coming up to Canadians in the near future because that will make them exempt from the tax. And there's also going to be some provisions where people can get their, if they paid the tax, they'll be able to get that money back if they immigrate to Canada within 4 years of purchasing the property and paying the tax. They can get that money back, apparently, with interest. So that's in the press release that the government put out. Also, there's going to be some special provisions for students. I believe what they said was that if a student has been going to school here for at least 2 years, that student may be able to purchase some property without paying the tax. So that's a good thing, because I know for a fact that there are a lot of parents who send their kids here for university, and they like to buy a condo for them to live in during the course of their studies rather than pay rent. So hopefully that's going to mitigate things a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about the history of the tax. This 15% tax was originally rolled out in British Columbia last year in 2016 in the greater Vancouver area. And the people there, the politicians there, were trying to do the same thing to slow down the booming Vancouver real estate market. Vancouver is a little different in that they determined that about 10% of all the purchasers in Vancouver were foreign buyers, people from other countries who were buying property in the Vancouver area. Toronto's numbers are a little bit lower. We had to complete a survey last year conducted by Ipsos Reid. It was mandatory for all the realtors to do, and they were able to determine that in Toronto it's about half that amount. Somewhere between 4 and 5% of all the purchases, all the buyers in the Toronto area are foreign buyers. So when Vancouver rolled out the tax last summer, there was an immediate effect. Basically, the foreign buyers dried up. They stopped. Very few people are going to pay on $1 million purchase of a home. Very few people want to pay $150,000 in tax, in addition to the basic land transfer tax on the day they get their keys. I think very few people, no matter how wealthy you are willing to spend that kind of money just to pay a tax. So that dried up right away, but an interesting thing happened in BC where the local buyers, Canadian buyers, also decided to step back because they wanted to wait and see where the prices would fall. So it became kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, and prices and activity did fall rather dramatically in the Vancouver area over the course of last summer and fall. What we see now is that the Vancouver market seems to have picked up again, and even without foreign buyers, and it seems to be headed upwards once again. Whether or not this drop will happen here in the Toronto area, we're not sure yet. Again, this was just announced this morning, and we'll have to be watching the market very carefully going forward to see where it's headed. There's something I'd like to mention. This was rolled out again this morning, and they're calling it a non-resident speculation tax. And I have a problem with this, the way they've kind of packaged this, because think about it. If a Canadian buys a house in Florida, does that automatically make them a speculator? Or if a wealthy Canadian buys a condo in New York City, does that automatically make them a speculator? Or could it just possibly be that they want to invest in that property in Florida or in New York just for their own benefit, or to rent out, or just simply as an investment? So the fact that they've rolled it out as a speculation tax, I think, is a little bit disingenuous. It's not, I mean, let's not make these people into the boogeyman. This 5% of the buyers out there, they're not the ones that are driving the market. So the fact that they're calling it a speculation tax is really not at all the situation. You can't call anybody who buys a house, a foreigner who buys a property in Canada, automatically a speculator. So I just wanted to mention that. Anyway, so any way you look at it, though, this is going to take effect once they pass it into law. It will take effect. And the lawyers are going to be busy if there's anybody foreign countries who decides to purchase property. It's just for residential properties. It is only for units up to 6 residential units. So, for example, it's going to apply for houses and semis and townhouses and condos up to 6 units. So duplexes and triplexes up to 6plexes. Anything over that, like a large apartment building, for example, if some investor wants to buy that and they happen to live overseas, there's no tax to pay on it. So only up to 6 units. Anyways, that's the first of the 16. That's all we're going to talk about today. I'm not sure this is the best thing for our government to be doing. It's not addressing the primary problem that we have in the real estate market here, which is so simple. We have an imbalance of supply and demand. There's more demand than there is supply. For every house that comes to the market, every house or condo, there's 10 or 15 or 20 buyers that want to buy it. That's an imbalance. And by imposing this tax, I think it's too superficial. That's not really the problem we have, but we'll talk about that another time. Anyways, thank you for joining me again today. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. If you have any comments, if you're on YouTube, I welcome them. Or if you're on any other social media, I always like to talk to you guys. If you want to call me or text me, 416-433-3556, and I'd be happy to talk to you. Thanks a lot and have a great day. Bye.